and core faculty in the PhD DBA program. She has about 30 years of leadership experience in the corporate world, most of it with Allstate Insurance Company. Second on the slide is Jim Gustafson, our leadership scholar in residence and core faculty member. He is not able to be on the call today. Third, Kevin Lynch. Kevin is leadership executive in residence and core faculty in the PhD DBA program, which means that he teaches in the program and also runs our corporate outreach programs. Formerly, Kevin was Chief Financial Officer of Pritzker Realty, a global real estate firm based here in Chicago. Fourth is Deb Helmuth, the program coordinator. And as you know by now, she is one of the friendliest and most responsive persons on the planet. And she is also the person who works efficiently behind the scenes to manage every aspect of our programs. And then finally is Amber Johnson. She's our corporate relations advisor, and she's in charge of all marketing, communications, and fundraising for the Center for Values-Driven Leadership. And as I mentioned before, she will be moderating the Q&A session. Now I'd like to move on to the slide of our students. As you can see, we've got 3 on the webinar today. The first is Lee Murphy. Lee is a social entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Integrated Case Management, L3C, a company dedicated to improving the health of patients with multiple chronic health conditions. Lee is a CPA with an MS in organizational behavior and an MBA. Next is Joe Riccardi, and Joe is the Director of Analytics Services at Javi Global Solutions, a global supply chain service company. He's also a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserves and recently returned from his 3rd deployment where he commanded an 1,100 soldier task force responsible for finding and neutralizing IEDs in Afghanistan. Joe, thanks again for your service. Joe has an undergrad degree in economics from West Point and an MBA from Purdue University. And last but by no means least is Jackie Woodard, and Jackie is a Senior Vice President with RBS Citizens Bank North America, where she focuses primarily on strategic and operations management. She holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and a BS in Business Administration, magna cum laude from Florida A&M University. So welcome to all of our panelists, and thank you very much for being on the webinar today. If we could move on to the next slide, I just want to give a brief introduction to the program, and you can see I want to hit briefly 5 points. That the program is for senior leaders who want to change the world. It's got a transformative curriculum. It's pushing the boundaries of the field through research, education, and practice. It's a collaborative global learning community, and it's tailored to meet the demands of life, particularly your life and other students in the program. On the first one, about it being a program for senior leaders who want to change the world, this is based on the idea that business is currently the most powerful institution on the planet and the institution with the greatest potential to influence positive social change. Our program is dedicated to that principle, and we're looking for people who share this conviction and want to be part of a dynamic learning community that will help them advance their agenda in their organizations and in life. The agenda to change the world in a positive way through business. The second thing is about the transformative curriculum. The curriculum is designed around 4 core areas. The first is leadership and leadership development. The second is strategic organizational change. The third is corporate responsibility and sustainability. And the last is research methods. Those first three that I mentioned, leadership and leadership development, strategic organizational change, and corporate responsibility and sustainability, it's very intentional that those are the three legs of the stool of the content curriculum, because we believe that those are the areas that folks like our students, senior leaders in business and other organizations, really need to be able to advance their own change agendas in powerful ways in their own organizations and in the world. So we focus on helping them grow, learn and grow as leaders, helping them learn and grow in terms of being able to shape, change, and lead their organizations, and then helping them learn and grow around how to impact society in a positive way. The research methods courses, of course, are what you might call a necessary evil in the context of a doctoral program, because this, again, is a program that is as rigorous as any doctoral program out there. And so the students who go through the program need to understand how to do good research and then go out and do it. So that's what the curriculum is based on. And I say it's transformative in the sense that it really does transform at the individual, organizational, and societal levels. Third bullet, pushing the boundaries of the field through research, education, and practice. One of the things that we're very dedicated to in the Center for Values-Driven Leadership is that it's not just about educating leaders. It's not just about doing research on organizations and communities and leaders themselves. And it's not just about putting ideas into practice in the business world and in communities. It's about combining the three. And we believe that that's a virtuous cycle, that research informs education, education informs practice, and practice informs research, and it's a virtuous cycle in that regard. We've got the PhD DBA program on the education side. There are other educational offerings that we are developing. We've also got executive education programs that we offer on a custom basis to corporations. On the research side, we just recently received a $600,000 three-year grant from a group of small entrepreneurial companies associated with Inc., the Inc. community, Inc. magazine, and the Small Giants community to study the practices of values-driven companies and to see if they do, in fact, deliver a stronger financial return over time than their industry peers. So that's a very exciting research initiative, and we are looking to expand that with other grants from foundations. There are also a wide range of research projects going on with our students in their organizations and the causes that they're involved in. In terms of practice, as I mentioned, Kevin Lynch is our leadership executive in residence and the person who runs our corporate outreach programs. Those include the executive education programs I mentioned earlier, and then also our consulting services to companies. Next bullet, in terms of collaborative learning community, one of the things that I love most about the program, and I think a lot of people love about the program, is that students get together once a month and then an 8-day intensive in the first year and an 8-day intensive in the second year. And it really does form a sense of community in the program, so that there's a real collaborative spirit and people are working with each other to help stretch their thinking and practice, to help them succeed in the program, to help them make a difference in the world. But not only is it the students who are doing that with each other, but much of the teaching in the program is done by visiting distinguished scholars, people who come from the leading universities and corporations from around the world and spend those weekends and 8-day intensives with our students and with our core faculty. So it's a global community in the sense that folks come from around the globe bringing a wide range of perspectives on the issues. They are the world's leading thinkers and practitioners, and it's just a tremendously rich learning environment each weekend that we're together and during those 8-day intensives. It's almost like sacred space because we get to generate new ideas, rub elbows with some of the world's greatest thought leaders, and deepen our own learning and personal transformation. Last one, tailored to the demands of life. As you know, it is a program for senior executives, and so all of the courses are on weekends, which allows people to work full-time, fly in for the weekend, and then go back to work on Monday morning. We also, as I say, have the 8-day intensives. And they're just, we try to put as few hoops as possible in front of people because we want the focus really to be on learning and transformation of people's lives and organizations and of society. And so we tailor the program for that purpose. I think that's about it. I know that there will be lots and lots of questions, but that's all I have in terms of my initial introduction. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to each of the student panelists and give them an opportunity to say a few words. And Lee Murphy, why don't we go ahead and start with you, Joe Riccardi, then we'll go to you, and then Jackie Woodard, you'll bat cleanup. So Lee, let me turn it over to you.
All right, let me just do a check here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sound great.
Thank you. Fantastic. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Lee Murphy, and I'm privileged to be part of the first cohort here with Center for Values-Driven Leadership. What I'll say about this program, and I have a, I don't know if it's a unique perspective, but 20 years ago I had opportunity, and I had done the coursework for a full-time PhD in a traditional program. And so I come to this program having experienced the other one in a degree that I did not finish for a variety of reasons. And the one thing that I would say has this program stand out is that it is a student-centric program. What I mean by that is that the core faculty and all the support team are focused on helping us get through. Now that's a bold statement since I'm only not quite 2 years through the coursework and I haven't finished my dissertation. But given what I've seen so far, the focus really is on what is your research interest? How can you clarify what that is? And then how can we take our coursework, especially the last half of the coursework, and focus on keeping you where you need to be in order to complete this program in 3 years. And in a traditional program, the focus is on, my experience, is on whatever the research that is going on that's of interest to the faculty. And in a student-centric program, the focus is on how can we help support you get through this. I will mirror what Jim said as far as the rigor, the demands, the timeframes for completing this program are the same as far as what it takes in any other program. And so, you know what, I'll stop there. But that's the thing that probably stands out the most for me in this group. And I'll take one small moment and talk about the brilliance of the community. Just in coming together with 20 plus others, in our case now it's 22, that are willing to undertake an endeavor like this. It really does bring something of immeasurable value into my life, some additional one-on-one relationships and some additional community interactions about what is important to me, helping clarify that. And I see and I hope that we'll be staying in touch as we go forward because there's some really brilliant thinking that has happened in this group. That's it for me.
Thank you, Lee. Joe?
Great. Hello, everyone, and thank you for letting me speak today. This is really a privilege. What I'd like to talk a little bit about today is really kind of my decision to go ahead and embark here and my path so far. And really mine starts with several years ago when I elected to go back and get my MBA, and I finished the MBA program and realized that I didn't want this to stop. This, for the first time, I thought this whole learning thing was pretty fun, and so as I wanted to look ahead, I started exploring the option of getting a PhD, and two things really hit like a brick wall. And the first was, at that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do and what I wanted to go ahead and dive into so thoroughly that you would have to in a PhD program. And the second part was just the whole thought, the whole task of getting it was unknown, it was undaunting. You felt like even just asking people questions, it was just a journey that I didn't think that I was ready for up until a couple of years ago, and when I was introduced to this program, and it all came together, and then realized, you know what, this is my profession. Leadership is all of our profession as we continue on, and so the subjects fit. And then when I found out that it was a cohort program just like my MBA, that was it, and so it all came together, and I said, you know what, I can do this, and this is the program for me. So that's what got me to really where I'm at today. And in terms of the program, what it's done for me or provided for me, I really think that most will attest here that I'm a bit of the poster boy for the flexibility for the program. And for those of you that are on the line, I sent in my application, and I did my telephone interviews, and at some point in there, I think I gave Jim the, hey, and by the way, I'll be here for the intensive, but those first couple months, I'm still going to be in Afghanistan. And we were able to work through the issue of me being in Afghanistan for those first couple weeks, and something the program I don't think was ready to prepare for at that time, but did it seamlessly. And so when Lee talks about it being a student-based program, and everybody rose, and not just the school in terms of providing the forum, the opportunity, and the technology, but my classmates as well, embracing the fact and embracing me to be able to have that opportunity and come back and fit back into the class, into the group seamlessly. So, that in terms of me looking at this being a program that I would say, you know what, if I could do that, I think anything that's going on in most anyone else's life, the program could probably figure out a way to make it happen.
Very good, Joe. Thanks a lot. Jackie?
Hi. So thanks, Jim, and thank you guys for taking the time to talk about the program and learn more about the CDDL. I think what I'll offer to this group, similar to Joe, coming to the program at this time seemed to be really fortuitous. I was looking at changes in my industry and in my job requirements in terms of the leadership demands, and was looking for a program of some sort to help retool me and reskill me in a way that was geared towards experienced executives, and in a way that allowed me to continue on my career without having to stop and go to school full-time, and Benedictine's program fit that very nicely. I think to echo Lee's comments about the community, I think the composition of the cohort is really something that's very unique. We have business leaders and entrepreneurs and leaders in the armed forces, as well as educators and administrators that are part of our community, so the diversity of experience and the input into the classroom discussion is very robust and rich as a result. And because we are not, spring chickens just out of school, people are able to bring forth real-world experience, real-world examples, and really challenge the theory on paper to make sure they are sound and robust when compared to practical applications. So that the learning of the theory and then the challenge in the classroom has also been a wonderful part of the program. I think the other thing I will add is I have found it very easy to come back to work and apply pretty easily and pretty readily some of the learnings from the program directly into my day job. So some of the theory around strength-based leadership and positive psychology have been immediately implementable in my day job, and I've been able to take advantage of the learnings from that program, almost immediately. And finally, you know, this is a PhD or a DBA in values-driven leadership. So almost by definition, it means that there is a focus on getting to the core of and understanding what your values are and getting at the heart of what your leadership legacy will be. And the curriculum allows the space, the opportunity, and the structure for you to explore and get in touch with what that means for you individually. I have personally found that process very transformative for me. I would imagine that's also the case for my other cohort members, but there has been absolutely a shift in how I view the world and how I view my contribution to that world differently because of this program. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie. This is Amber, and I'm going to start sort of emceeing the call here and start taking some questions. So if you have a question you'd like to ask one of the current students or a faculty member, please type it into that chat session, and I'll call it out here in a second. But we had a couple people that actually were on the ball, which is always a good sign for students, and emailed me questions in advance, and a few people who have been asking them through the questions chat function. And so I want to go ahead and get one question to just start us off, and then ask you guys to send more in as we're going. This question is sort of combining a couple of different questions that have come my way, and people are wanting to hear more about the dissertation process. So I think, Lee, I'm going to ask you to respond to this. People want to know, first of all, how soon do you have to decide on a dissertation process, and how do the classes complement that? And then a secondary question is, what's your own area of research? So Lee, if you'll answer the general question and share your own area of research, and then we'll ask Joe and Jackie to respond with their areas of interest as well.
All right, I think I heard a question being is, how do the classes support my moving towards my dissertation as part of the question, and then what is my research? Is that correct?
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will tell you that I came into the program with an idea of what I was going to study, and I thought I was going to come in and do a DBA. I have switched to a PhD because I see that I can do that as effectively, and it'll be one less question I have to answer of what is a DBA. And so I went that route. The classes in the first year, I would describe them as baseline or exposure classes, that if you don't know exactly where it is you're headed or what it is you want to do, that the coursework itself may expose you to something that will do it. We have a two-step qualifying process that will give you an exposure to the literature of what's out there. That can help answer it, but my direct answer is the first year classes may not have any direct application to where it is you're going. I will also add, because I did another PhD program, that's not unusual. I didn't come in with an expectation that the classes were going to have necessarily a direct link. It's about exposure to a broader field. In the second year, I see the classes as we're moving into our research methodology classes. Both the assignments and the courses are really giving you a chance to hone what is your question and where are you headed. So personally, I'm what's known as or what some people would know as a social entrepreneur. And so I'm looking at the intersection of social entrepreneurship, what that actually means. It's a relatively new field. If you read 150 research journal articles, you'll come up with probably 102 different definitions of what exactly that means. But the intersection of that, positive organizational scholarship, and looking at value measures, both economic and social, it'll be I'm looking at an action research project, and in particular, can can I take a term used in software, which is open source, and can I apply it as a business model for effectiveness and change in the world?
Great, thanks, Lee. Joe, would you just briefly talk a little bit about what you were thinking about for your dissertation?
Sure. And I'll say that coming into this program, I had really no idea what a dissertation entailed, or the process, or any idea of what I was going to do. So for those of you out there that are wondering, the program really does take you through the steps to get there. And not sure how I landed on where I'm at, but the process got me there. And I'm looking at the relationship between passion, intimacy, and commitment, and effective leadership.
Great, interesting. And Jackie?
Yeah, so much like Joe, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to study. I had a million topics and no focus, and only here recently am I starting to narrow in on the topic of my dissertation. So I think no one should feel the pressure of having to know when you come in. That's certainly not the expectation. But right now I'm looking at the role of decision-making in a complex environment, and what role does pragmatism or intuition play in that, and what that means for today's leaders.
Interesting.
Amber, if I could add...
Go ahead, Lee.
Sure.
The only thing I'd like to add that's of interest to me when I talk about a cohort model is I probably could have answered it, maybe not as succinctly, but I probably could have answered for Joe and Jacqueline what their areas of focus were because of the conversations we've had in the cohort. And as I come across things, we send each other resources to help each other, and it's just a benefit of a cohort approach.
Jim, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I do have something to add, just building on a couple of the comments that were made. Joe said, I'm not sure how I got to my topic. And the topic of, what was it, Joe? Passion, what, and commitment?
It's passion, intimacy, and commitment, the three legs of love, so to speak.
So Joe's topic is passion, intimacy, and commitment. That is to say, love and leadership. And he says, I have no idea how I got to my topic. And Jackie said, I wasn't really sure of my topic coming into the program either, but I'm focusing my dissertation on decision-making in complex environments. And Lee said, I wasn't really sure of my topic coming in either, but I want to do something around open source organizing in the context of social entrepreneurship. And the thing that just really stands out for me in all of those cases is how much those topics came from life, came from the trenches, so to speak, in terms of the leadership endeavors in which all three of them were engaged. Joe was in Afghanistan and a couple other tours of duty, and Joe, I hope I'm not breaking any confidence you wouldn't want me to break. I don't think I am, but he experienced passion, intimacy, and commitment, and the impact that had on his leadership and the leadership of others in the context of Afghanistan, and then began to translate that into the business world. So it came directly out of his life experience. Jackie, a global banker, talking about decision-making in complex environments. Again, it's what Jackie lives every day, and trying to sort through that, understand that. How do decisions get made in a world where complexity is so beyond anybody's single capacity to figure it out? How do we make the best decisions that we can possibly make? And then Lee's as well, looking at open source organizing in the context of social entrepreneurship. Lee is a serial social entrepreneur and has built a number of different organizations and using different methods and models and methodologies, and looking at it from the open source perspective. Again, comes directly from his own life and experience, and in all three cases directly targets where I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, you three, where you want to continue to go with your own leadership. And so that's one of the things we really try to do in the program, is allow each student to find that topic that they're really passionate about, that really is going to influence their future and what they do and their impact in the world. And we as faculty, our job is to help students find that and then help them be successful at doing that dissertation. And then the other point I wanted to make is that the curriculum, the entire curriculum is built to help students get there. As Lee said, the first year is really the content courses, where you get a bunch of stuff on leadership, leading self, leading others, leading teams, strategic leadership, organizational change and design, and a bunch of courses, corporate responsibility and sustainability, a bunch of courses that are really focused on core content areas. Then as you move into the second year, you move more into the research methods courses, and by then you're ready to start talking about what your dissertation topic is and how you want to study it, whether it's quantitative, qualitative, mixed, you know, exactly what kind of methodology. And then also there are a couple of major assignments along the way, one about 8 months into the program and the other one about 16 months into the program, a qualifying paper number 1 and a qualifying paper number 2, and both of them also help students move towards finding their topic and completing the dissertation. So all of it is designed to get students there.
Thanks, guys. We've got a backlog of questions here, so let's keep moving. Sherry is asking a question that might be on a lot of people's minds, and that is that a lot of us work for companies that are very profit-driven, especially in the recent recession. So how does the type of learning you have as students make a difference as you come into your company? What impact can you make? And I think, Jackie, you might be positioned to speak to this. Can you speak to the impact that a student in the program can have in a profit-driven company?
Sure. So I work in a tough industry at the moment, as I'm sure everyone knows, in financial services, and in an institution that's had its own personal financial challenges. We are at the moment owned by the British government, so that comes with its own set of pressures, and own set of psychological pressures on the staff. And a lot of what I focused on is around, you know, the benefits of positive psychology, the benefits of strength-based development, really taking the time to manage conversations and storytelling, and these are all things that we have touched on in the class. So we've been able to elevate the staff morale, elevate and change the conversations, and build a type of confidence in the staff to take us what has been some very challenging times over the past few months. So I have gotten more benefit over the past year out of the learning I've gotten so far than I would have ever imagined, and that is starting to permeate across the department.
Great, Jackie, thanks. If I can give one quick example, too. If you go to our blog, the top story today is about one of our cohort members, Indigo Johnson, who owns a HR firm in Atlanta. And she will tell you that she had a hard time growing the firm, in part because she had a hard time taking care of employees and keeping good employees. And she credits the change in her firm to when she started learning about leadership as a member of this program. And her company was just named to the Inc. 500 list, which is the list of fastest growing companies. So that's one example, too, of how the leadership has impacted a privately owned company that's led by one of our students. I want to move on to Greg's question, and Greg asks the question, what is the interaction like between the fellow students, especially between those once-a-month weekend classes? Are you guys doing group-based work or staying in contact? And Joe, would you mind taking that question?
Sure. What is it like? I would describe. I mean, we're a small family, and well, maybe a large family, and over the past 18 months or so, have really grown into a close-knit group, and that interaction doesn't stop at the weekend. You know, Lee alluded to before. At this point, everybody has a good idea of what everybody's interested in. and not only from a dissertation or academic standpoint, but personally in their life and professionally. So it's crossed all boundaries in that aspect. Some of the local people have hosted events. We've met a lot of family members from everybody in the group. So from a relationship side within the cohort, it's really a phenomenal bond that we've formed with one another.
Thanks, Joe. All right, Jim, I'm going to direct this next question at you. It comes from Wayne, and he's asking if there's any research being done or focus within the program occurring on the idea of public and private partnerships as more and more private work is being sort of commercialized and opened up to, to be turned over to be contracts. I think, Wayne, I hope I'm clarifying your question correctly. Jim, is there anyone doing research in that area within the program, or would that concept fit within the program?
Jackie, Joe, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that anybody in the current cohort is doing research on public-private partnerships per se. I do know that a number of the companies, the people who are in the program do public-private partnerships and could study them if they chose that topic. I also know that in our research agenda or our research project with the Small Giants community and the companies in the Inc. 5000, that there are a number of companies there that do public-private partnerships, and that may be part of what comes out of our research, identifying that as a key factor in their success. So the short answer is I don't know of anybody currently doing research in that area in the program, but yes, it's a very important, apropos topic, and one that would be a terrific focus for research in our program.
Great. Another question along those same lines comes from Thomas Mahoney, and Lee, I'll ask you to take this. Thomas wants to know about sort of the composition of the cohort, the sectors that they're in, both public, private, and I would add nonprofit. Could you say something about that, Lee?
Sure. And so the composition, and it's interesting because when you thought of composition, I wasn't necessarily thinking of industry, and so I'm pausing here for a minute. There's a handful of us in healthcare or related fields. There's another handful in education. We've got a combination of, again, within some of those, we've got a small handful of entrepreneurs. We've got a few folks that work for very large organizations, a couple that work for global organizations. I'll ask Joe and Jackie, help me out here a little bit. What am I missing?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. And for, if you said the 20-something of us, I think we're a pretty good cross-section of all public, private, large, small, profit, non-profit organizations.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Jim, I think I'm going to direct the next question to you. Mark is asking for you to discuss the curriculum, the textbooks and the assignments, and he's looking for real specifics. What do you get on day one?
Well, that is a good question. On the very first class encounter is the first 8-day intensive, which will be in April of 2013. And the first course is a course led by Jim Gustafson, and it's on leading self, and it's about your career leadership legacy. And I don't know, to be honest with you, exactly which books are in that class because I don't teach it, but I'm quite sure that Gus uses Bill George's stuff on True North. Jackie, Lee, and Joe, you would probably know better than I exactly what the curriculum and readings were for that course and will be. The second course that is also a part of that first 8-day intensive is the course on leadership theory and research, and that is a course that I teach, and I bring in Peter Northouse, who is the author of the world's leading leadership text, and we use Peter's books and go through all of the major theories that have influenced leadership thought over the years, from older to very contemporary stuff around shared leadership, distributed leadership, ethical leadership, and so forth. Then we move into a leading teams course, which is a course that I also teach, and bring in Ron Fry from Case Western Reserve University, one of the world's leading authorities on group and team dynamics in organizations. And we have a wide range of articles from the academic literature around group development and team development, and then also we do some work with the Strength Finder instrument that the Gallup organization created, helping people in the cohort discover their own strengths as it relates to their own leadership and leading in teams. We do some work with the FIRO-B instrument, which is also an instrument that helps people understand how they show up in groups and how others perceive them. That's a very hands-on experiential class. We spend a lot of time in unstructured groups watching group dynamics evolve and then relating theory to that evolution process. So that just gives you a brief synopsis of the first 3 courses, and then each of the courses is a little bit different, some more practical in their orientation, some more theoretical, and the theoretical ones based more on academic journal articles, and the practical ones based more on books that are more popular practitioner-oriented literature. So it's a variety, but that gives you at least a thumbnail of the first 3 courses.
And I'll just add, there's no shortage of material to the person that asked that question. There's lots of books and articles that are part of every course, so you won't be looking for material to read.
In fact, you should probably be reading those novels now, right?
Exactly. Get ahead of the game.
All right. The next question I'm going to direct towards Joe, and we have about 10 minutes left, so we're going to try to get through as many questions as we can. Joe, Ursula is asking, how do you balance your PhD work with your regular job and your family? And specifically, I'm calling on you because you have a young family, but then Lee and Jackie, if you have anything you want to add, please respond to.
Wow. How do you balance it? I don't know the right, I mean, that's going to be different for everyone in terms of finding your time. And somebody told me once before I started my MBA, they said, there's going to be X amount of hours of coursework per week, and at some point you'll figure out how to make those hours appear, and then the minute you walk across the stage and you get your diploma, they all go away again. So I don't know the answer to that. It's going to be different for everybody's lifestyle, but it's definitely manageable. And because this course is because of the length of the course, and kind of alluding to what Lee said before about the flexibility, the program allows people to go through all the phases and things that will happen in life in 3 years and still make it happen. So there's flex on both sides.
Great. Anybody have any wisdom to add?
got to figure it out. I mean, there's time to live your life, and if you're somebody who struggles staying up with what you've got now, quite honestly, I wouldn't do this. The one thing I would add is I love it, and I'm passionate about it. I enjoy the learning, and I enjoy the community. If you were pursuing this because you want the piece of paper, I would think that it would feel brutal at times. And so, but, you know, I found time this year to get the coursework done and get married. So, you know, you can make it happen.
All right, thank you. Jim, we're going to direct the next question to you. A couple people have asked for a little more detail on how long the program lasts. How many years is it? How often our classes are held? And is that schedule fixed or flexible?
The program is designed to be a 3-year program. This is our first cohort, so we don't know exactly how many students will graduate in 3 years. But we also have another program here at Benedictine University which is structured in a very similar way. It's a PhD program in organizational development. And I taught in that program for many years, and I do know that the vast majority of the students, probably 90%, graduate in 3 years. Another 5 to 6% take 4 years, and then there are a couple, 3 people who take longer. But you know, in the program, we do everything we possibly can. I mean, if the students are committed to finishing in 3 years, we'll do everything in our power to help make that happen. In terms of the weekend courses, we set the schedule ahead of time, and that's pretty inflexible. From time to time, we do have to adjust. If, for example, a visiting scholar is coming and that person's schedule changes, but if that happens, we get the word out and check with students to see if they're able to make those changes before making the changes. So yeah, the weekends are pretty set in concrete, as is the 8-day intensive each year. And there is an expectation that students are in class for the entire weekend and the entire 8-day intensive for every class. And the rationale for that, obviously, is that so much of the learning occurs among students in the room. And then also we bring in the distinguished visiting scholars from around the globe, and that time literally is precious, is almost sacred. And so there's a very strong expectation that people be there and be there for the entire time on those weekends and 8-day intensives.
Great. One quick question that sort of goes along with that. You said it was 3 years. In the 3rd year, everybody has read on the FAQs that there's an international travel and study. Can you say something about what's being considered for that?
Yes, I can. And but before I do that, I said that the program is a 3-year program, and that is true. It's 2 years of coursework where you do come once a month on weekends and for the 8-day intensives. But then in the 3rd year, there's no required travel because you're working on your dissertation, and you can do that from home and send drafts back and forth to your committee members via email or posting them on the web, the Dropbox. So then the question about the international experiences, yes, that's a requirement of the program, that each student who goes through the program does at least one international experience, and those international experiences are either a conference in another part of the world where we get together with other leadership, organizational change, or sustainability, corporate responsibility students and faculty. You know, you go to a conference and you present a paper, present some of the work you're working on, others present their stuff, and so you get to dialogue with people from other cultures, other countries in the context of a conference like that. In other cases, we'll make a visit where we visit a bunch of corporations and a bunch of universities in a given part of the world. So, for example, one year I went to China, and I went to a conference, but it was only a 2-day conference, and then we also visited a bunch of companies and a couple of different universities to see what they're working on and how they understand leadership and sustainability and organizational change in that context. We'll be going to South Africa in January, New Zealand. As I said, I've been to China, we've been to India, the UK, Netherlands. So it all depends on what opportunities present themselves and where people want to go. It's something that can be negotiated, or it can be developed as the program moves on. I mean, it's not. The places to which we go are not set way ahead of time. It's not the same place every time.
Great. All right, I think we have time for one more question, and I'm going to just ask everybody to give a one-sentence response to this. I'm going to interpret the question a little bit. Thomas asks, how will you measure the effectiveness of the program, and how will you know that the participants get it? And so I'm going to just ask each person to respond with one sentence of how will you know you've got what you were looking for from this program? And I'll give you a second to think on that, and then I will turn it over to Lee. We'll go Lee, Joe, Jackie, and then Jim. Lee, when you're ready. How will you measure, how will you know you got what you were looking for from this program?
One is I'll actually complete this degree, but two is I've gotten it. I am totally re-energized and fully re-engaged in my organization and trying to make the world a better place. And I'm doing it from a deeper, more committed place. So that's how I would answer it.
Great. Joe?
In terms of measuring, I don't know that I've thought about how I would measure it, but it's something that you can't take away. Education, this experience, it will remain with us forever and influence the way that we act and interact and lead, and that's something that can never be taken away. So I'm happy in the experience.
Vic and Jackie?
I think the tactical is, yeah, we will walk out with a PhD degree. I think to Lee's point, I think I've already shifted my perspective on the world and on leadership, but to some extent what I was seeking in a degree has already started to happen, and that pivoting and expansion of my thinking is already underway. So from that perspective, I feel like I've already accomplished that.
And Jim, final thoughts.
For me, I define success. I mean, the whole program is based on helping people learn and develop their leadership to become a powerful force in business and society for good. And so when I've got a cohort full, a classroom full of leaders who are working to make that happen, who are supporting each other, each in their own context, that to me is success. And then the other key element of success is making sure that each and every class is getting the highest possible scores it can get from students in terms of their evaluation, so that they're getting the learning that they want and in a way that they want it. And then the third factor is that they complete their dissertations within 3 years, and that we've done everything we could do to help them get there. So it's really being with a bunch of transformative people transforming the world and helping them get the best possible learning experience, and then helping them complete their dissertations in the 3-year period.
Great. Thank you. As we wrap up today, I just want to close with a few notes on the timeline for the next few months. First of all, it's important that each of you understand completed applications are due on December 7th. And so that does take a while. That includes your transcripts and other details. So please be attentive to that date. We also want you to know that then once your completed application is in, it gets reviewed by our faculty committee, and we'll start interviews in December and January. And then we'll notify people of their acceptance in late January, and classes start with that 8-day intensive on April 5th. We know we weren't able to answer every question here, and so at any point you can contact our staff. Deb Helmuth in particular can help direct you to answer questions, or you have my email address as well. And some of you have asked if you may talk with students after this point. And because we get a lot of people making that request, we reserve connecting you with a student to speak with until after you've applied for the program. And so that's just to protect their time, and if you're in the future admitted to this program, we'll try to protect your time with the same courtesy. But we would be happy for the staff to answer any questions at this point, or the faculty, and we'll make sure you feel confident before you need to make a program decision. If you're accepted, you'll have all the information you need. There are some additional resources for you to consider. The first and foremost is our website, cvdl.org, and there you'll find a curriculum overview, frequently asked questions that actually address some of the questions we didn't get to today. More information about who is involved with the program, including our cohort, faculty, and visiting scholars, and a 1-minute overview video that just gives you a quick visual of the program. And if you haven't already, please go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BenedictineCVDL. and look for the Executive Doctorate playlist. There are 11 1-minute videos there featuring our current students answering questions, some of the questions you asked today, and it's just nice, I think, to see their faces there and really get to hear about the program in their words. Thank you again so much for joining us today. We do have another open house on November 8th, and we'd love for you to be able to attend again in case there were questions you didn't get answered or just want to participate. And certainly do reach out to us with further questions. We look forward to seeing your applications on or before December 7th. Thanks, everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.